Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful fondant pleated cake. I also added a stencil and some edible crinoline and a few pearls into that stencil just to finish it off. So let's get right to it. First thing we're going to do is roll out our fondant to put on the cake. I'm just rolling out the tops for both of them at the same time. Since these aren't big pieces of fondant, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I can just roll them out at the same time and just set them to the side. And then I'm attaching these with just some shortening. My cake tiers are already filled and crumb coated and chilled. That way I can go ahead and just cover them with a lot more ease than using a cake that is not chilled. Definitely highly recommend chilling your cakes before you decorate. That's just, 10 to 20 minutes in your refrigerator is all that takes, or 10 minutes in your freezer. And then we have the tops on both of them, and I place them back in the refrigerator while I got my panels ready. We're going to panel these cakes. I really prefer the paneling method because you get those sharp, crisp corners, edges that everybody is looking for. I just measure the circumference and the height for each tier, and I just cut them to size. That's how you make sure that you get your piece big enough. And make sure that you leave yourself a little leeway on your width and your height. You can cut off the excess. And I'm just setting them to the side after I'm done with them. I would let them sit for about 15 minutes minimum before you transfer them onto your cake. You don't have to worry about them ripping and tearing and pulling if you let them sit. And then I did add shortening onto the cake before I applied it. And don't mind that black on the bottom of the cake board. These are recycled cakes, guys. These are not for purchase. So I'm reusing a cake that I had decorated before. That one, obviously, it was black. So don't pay any mind to that. And then I'm just removing any air bubbles by using my fondant smoother on both tiers. Now, I'm going to say right now that my microphone is new, so if my sound is off a little bit, I am trying to figure out how to get the best sound out of this microphone. It's a good one. I'm just not tech savvy. So if it sounds a little off and a little tinny, I'm working on it. I'm sorry. And I'm just using this straight edge. You can use any kind of straight edge that you have to guide my X-Acto knife as I'm cutting off the excess. And then you just blend the two pieces together and try to eliminate as much of that line as you can, but just remember that every cake has a backside, and it's kind of hard to blend that completely. And now we're going to make our pleated section of this cake, and I'm using the same fondant that I used to cover the cakes. I'm just adding some Tylose, and what Tylose does is that makes your fondant act more like a gum paste. It will dry firm over time, but it's going to help it firm up and hold its shape faster than if you use just plain fondant. So once I mix that in, I just cut these into abstract, I don't even know what kind of a shape that is, kind of petal-esque shapes. And then I'm just pleating them with my fingers and folding over the edge, and then using some paper towels, rolled up paper towels, to help keep its shape while it dries. Now I have some shortening on this piece of parchment paper so that the fondant sticks to it. And I'm attaching each piece of fondant, I don't know what we should call these, pleated petals, attaching them to each other with water so that they stay hooked together better. Fondant sticks best to fondant with water. And then I'm draping it over that bucket, and there is some shortening on the bucket also so that the parchment sticks to it. So everything is sticking to each other, but they will pull apart easily when you use the shortening. I'm just using my fingers to guide this. I'm not sure if I said earlier, but I was inspired by a piece of artwork that I saw on Pinterest. I am inspired by artwork, other forms of artwork, quite a bit. Pinterest is a good place to get your inspiration from. And I thought, I can do that with fondant. So that's where the inspiration for this cake came from. Now this cake has been chilled. It's still upside down. And then I'm just going in with my straight edge. This is a clay cutting tool that I've only used on fondant to remove the excess. The reason I wanted it chilled first is because it's going to firm up that fondant enough so that it's not going to stretch and pull while you are cutting it off. And then just turn it right side up. And then I had left it in the refrigerator for a little bit of time. And that way, well, everything has been sitting to firm up. I'm not even sure if this was overnight or the same day. If it's not overnight, because I filmed this before Christmas, then it is part done in the morning and the rest of it done in the afternoon. And then I'm just brushing on some water onto these petal pieces that I just took off of the bucket that I left it on there. And it's a little loosey-goosey, but I can still manipulate it on there. You just got to learn how to work with your hands to support it, but still attach it. Take your time. Can you imagine how awful that would be if you didn't let it firm up a little bit? I know this is very slow. It will speed up in a second here. I think I was recording in slow-mo, and I didn't know it, because this is supposed to be real time. But hold on. Here, it's going to speed up. I promise. There, that's much better. So as you can tell, I do my voiceover in real time. That's why I trip over my words sometimes, because I don't plan this out ahead of time. And as I'm editing, if I see something, I'm going to fix it. So anyway, that's much better. And I'm just using these paper towels again, reusing the same ones to hold them in shape once I've applied them to the cake. If you need to, you can use some toothpicks, and that's what I'm doing here, to help hold things in place. Because even though these have set up for a while, fondant's not light. I would suggest, too, if you do this kind of a design, that maybe you suggest to your customers to remove that before they serve it, because not a lot of people want to eat that much fondant, right? So anyway, back to this. So I set that aside to firm up. And now I'm going to do the stenciling. I'm just using the stencil, and I'm going for partial coverage. I'm not covering the entire thing. Especially since this is more of an abstract design, I think the partial coverage just kind of goes better with it than all over, but that's a personal preference. You can do whatever you want. I think it would look good either way. Now, the consistency of my buttercream is about peanut butter. And I like to start my stencils in the middle. That way it holds itself on the cake better. If you start in the middle and work your way out, it's not going to shift around like it would if you start on one end and try to pull it to the other end, and then it can just kind of pull and smear your design, I guess is the best way to say it. Then I'm just removing that excess with a cake scraper. And then catty corner from that piece that I first did, that first stencil, I'm going to go on the bottom and do the same basic idea from the bottom up. I love the catty corner. I don't know why. It's just something I like. I do it a lot. I don't know if you've noticed. You probably have. So there we have our stencil. And I'm going to put that in the fridge to firm up until I'm ready for it. Now we're adding our supports on our bottom tier. And I'm just using bubble tea straws. Those will be linked in the My Favorites list in the video description. Most of the things that I use, I try to remember. I think I have basically everything that I use on an Amazon My Favorites list, always linked in the video description. Anyway, all those straws were cut to the same height, and I attached it with a little bit of buttercream and removed the paper towels. And the way that I'm removing the toothpicks is just by twisting them. That way you're not causing a bigger hole in your fondant. I try to strategically place them so you don't see the holes when you pull them out, but twisting definitely helps. And the ones that are stubborn and want to stick in, I just use those pliers to remove them. And those are just food cake dedicated pliers. Now, I am using the edible crinoline. No, I did not show you how I made it this time because I've done it a lot, but I will put a link, hopefully in the video right here or in the description or both, of how to make that edible crinoline. It's really cool technique, and it's so versatile, and you can do it on so many different designs. This time what I did was I did do it a thinner layer in the skillet, and it did turn out way more flexible. So I do suggest that. Use the same techniques, just make sure that it's nice and thin. And I attached those with some piping gel. And there we have it, our finished pleated fondant abstract modern cake. I guess that's a good thing to call it. We'll go with that. I hope you liked it. Hope you got some inspiration, because that's always my goal, is to give you guys some inspiration and some ideas on different designs. And if you guys don't mind, take a quick second and like the video if you liked it. It really helps me out. We'll catch you on the next one.